how did you get the opportunity to help Nick Setting scale to 600K per month?
I sent him my reward. Because if you could solve one bottleneck for one person, you could be rich. That identity drives behavior. Behavior drives decision. And decision with the right action leads to conversion. Conversion at the right volume is what's gonna scale you to the revenue base that you want to achieve for yourself. When scaling your offer, they think that they have a problem with content. We have a problem with ads. They have a problem with strategies and funds. But at a certain point in the 30 to 50K per month range, everything starts at that identity.
So we have June here. These are the high caliber entrepreneurs, people that you would meet that currently aligns with the stage or status of your business. Very relevant to what you are currently doing right now. So June, how's it going, man?
It's quite fun, bro. We've had a lot of conversations, definitely qualified people, really high level business stuff, like-minded individuals in the one room makes the ideas go further than just one person in his room, right? That's why it's open room. People with like-minded mentality can go over and fix internal bottlenecks written every single one, and I think it's great.
For sure. And then just to ask you a couple of questions, you are a very qualified, credible individual who were able, or who has the ability to help a ton of people in your niche, in your market. Like, how do you compare yourself from 6 months ago or like a year ago? Who's June there? Like, what was June doing versus now? 2026 April, June.
June had a black and white identity before and now, and I would say that I got into a phase of not being able to identify what really makes me unique. And what makes me unique is now what I use to make an insane positioning for myself, different than every single one that is positioned in the same way as everyone else. There's thousands of people doing the same exact thing, because unfortunately, lots of people have problems with their branding, their content, their ads, their funnels. And most people think that fixing these things as is gonna make them solve the entirety of the problem, but they would scale to 100K per month. They would scale to some 80K months, and they would find themselves plateauing and fatiguing the revenue basis, and they would think that they could just switch in another business model. And the main thing that I've seen for myself and for the other clients that I've worked with before is creating that unique positioning by aligning our identity to the actions that you do to take in order for you to make sure that the goal you want to achieve is highly likely possible. And for me, the past 6 months has been a turnaround. I was seen as a service provider for a lot of people. I was seen as a shadow to the people that I've worked with before. And it just made sense to me that one client asked me the right question, a specific time period and stage of their scaling process, and I was able to articulate my mind into 3 exact step-by-step process on what to implement in their business and their content and their positioning and their branding. And that decision has been followed and implemented for the next 2 months, and in February we generated like 600K in a single month. And that to me was a reality as real as it gets. Because if you could solve one bottleneck for one person, you could be rich at a single time in a specific time frame. Because it could be 6 months, it could be 1 year. But having access to the right people are the main single driver of what made me think. What made me think of how I think right now. And especially you have access to the right people, the right network, and the right team members. That's why you were able to curate this community. And yeah, one bottleneck each time for each specific person is enough to scale the business. And just me studying how I look at things and making sure that alignment is the top priority. It's what's gonna make any single business in online space scale.
For sure. And then like I'm so glad that you were able to scale 600K for your clients, for the people that you have worked with. Like how would you say, on your perspective, on your own expertise, how would you say like these people are focusing on different micro problems versus them just focusing on one major problem that made them scale to like 600K a month, like you said?
Yeah, it's focusing on the macro problems, of course. Because if you're still in the day-to-day operations of your business, you will never be able to scale. You know that full well. That's why delegation and automation is one thing. But also just picking the pieces of your identity that can be used as marketing levers that you can pull any single time, and people would resonate to that. You can use these marketing levers and make them as a positioning assets that people could relate to. And when one person relates to one marketing lever you have as a positioning asset, it's a unique driver of conversion. And we obviously know that identity drives behavior. Behavior drives decision. And decision with the right action leads to conversion. Conversion at the right volume, at the right amount, is what's going to scale you to the revenue base that you want to achieve for yourself. In Bloom, in anything else, you could scale to 100K per month in the high six figures, as long as you take a step back and literally realize where you come from and what you've been through and where you want to go. Because what most people don't understand is that what took them from a specific range is not what's gonna make them proceed on the next spot, right? From 0 to 10K, you're in a different identity. From 10 to 50K, you're in an exactly different identity. And then 10K for 50K to 100K to high six figures is an insanely different ballgame that what you currently have in your identity. So you have to pull up the pieces and make sure you have a bird's eye view on everything, and make sure that everything is aligned to who you are. Because you need to understand that if you're planning to scale to 1 million a month, or if you're planning to scale to an average of 300K per month, you cannot act like a 50K per month operator. You cannot. And if you act like a 50K per month operator, you will stay there. It's a non-negotiable. So you have to pick up the pieces of where you're slipping at, and then fix the leaks and make sure that every single bottleneck is solved before it even comes up. And that's the process.
For sure. And then like based on all of the clients that you have worked with, from different stages of their businesses, from different levels, what's like something that you see the most common with each level for their major pain points or their problems?
That's such a good question, bro. Because lots of people think that they have, when scaling your offer, they think that they have a problem with content. They have a problem with ads. They have a problem with strategies and funds. But at a certain point in the 30 to 50K per month range, everything starts at that identity. Because what you have to understand is from 10K to 50K, you're still a service provider. You're still an operator, like operating on a day-to-day basis in the business. But you need to make sure that you have the right identity in order for you to push forward your scaling your business. Most people get it wrong because they try to solve the content problems as it is without knowing their identity. What the fuck are you gonna be in your content when you don't know your identity? Who the fuck are you, bro? Who are you gonna present to people? You have multiple personalities. A lot of people have multiple personalities. I'm not always the same exact guy that you're talking to right now. So I have to curate the people or the characteristics of, or the traits of my identity that I should present. Because the traits of my identity that is good speaking, good at articulation, and high conviction. I could present that into my offer and create that as a positioning asset so that my clients, my prospects can be pre-sold because they see that I actually have the value they want to have from themselves. You cannot create a unique branding for yourself if you don't even have a huge audit or a surgical level of precision in what you're currently doing, and you can only do that when you know your identity.
For sure. And then just out of curiosity also, because some people might be hesitating Like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Like, what's stopping from people like really going and dedicating themselves into like working with you, that your current clients are seeing results with, like, the outcomes that your clients are seeing, the reports, the analytics, like what are your clients seeing that these people who are not taking action not seeing?
Yeah. At a certain point, it's all identity. If they're not still bought into the vision of working with me, it's still there's still an identity lack that they have to overcome. Because if they already know that they want to work with me, they just know, and they've seen the case studies. They've seen the results for the clients that I've worked with, big names and small names at each level of their business, from 50K to 100K per month. And what I would say is, when you know the action is what's stopping you from getting it, again, it goes back to the identity, because you already know that you want to scale to the high 16 years, like 300K to more. And what would that person do in the specific time period when he has all the resources that he needs, and he has the one person that he can ask for? It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of delay. How much time can you tolerate to delay before you can experience the consequences of not investing into a person? How can you tolerate yourself not doing the exact same steps, next steps, in order for you to pay someone to make sure that your business is growing and not plateauing into 50K per month, 30K per month? Because that's the worst thing that's going to happen. Because that is also why people in the coaching industry is like, it would hit 6 figures, but then they would think that, okay, there's nothing more here, let me switch to software, let me switch to other brick and mortar businesses and invest into other venues. But it's only because they got too complacent. They were never able to be humble enough to make sure that they themselves constantly improves. Not just the offer, not just the funnel, not just the team. It all starts with the identity of the brand and the identity of the person running the brand, right? So you cannot scale, or you cannot align yourself with the future actions that would take you to the goal that you want if you're operating at an identity that is just you starting out. So you know that you have to pay the right person. You know that you have to do the right action steps. You know that you need to take the risk in order for you to get to the goal that you want. So what are you waiting?
So, with all of the clients that you have worked with versus the people who are unsuccessful, what are the things that you are seeing that these successful people have access to versus these people don't?
Yeah, it's just differentiation, bro. Like, they don't have access to information that would differentiate themselves. Because what most people understand is that differentiation and positioning and framing the right message is what's gonna make a $50 package to a $10,000 package. It's all matter of positioning, framing, and messaging. And if you could curate that right position for yourself, for your clients, and for your offer, you could access a bunch of revenue. You could hit a bunch of more higher revenue soon. And obviously, access to the right people is one of the biggest bridges that you could cross in order for you to get to that goal. And if you're scared to take that bridge because you've been burned before, you had wrong access to the wrong people, and it's a matter of like, how do you pick your wife? Do you have one girlfriend and she became your wife? Of course, it's not. It can happen, but it's not always the case for a lot of people. You have to try, make sure that every relationship that you have is a learning curve. Make sure that the right person will come up and speak to you, and you will relate to that person, and you will know if they're fake or if they're real. Because a lot of the biggest issues in the info space and selling knowledge and access to people in general is that they think that the person speaking on the other side of them is against them. But to be completely honest, I'm so focused on my fulfillment that 20% of my time is just in the marketing. 80% is in the fulfillment, and I want to keep it that way because I want to serve my clients, like get the biggest case studies and make sure that I invest in all people as well. Team members, access to networks just like you do, access to the right information. And I will continue to keep it that way because I know that's what's gonna progress me in life and in business.
So, with your experience, with your expertise, with your clients, one of the outstanding clients that you have right now, how did you get the opportunity to help Nick Setting scale to 600K per month?
I sent him a Miro board. And it's funny because I sent him a Miro board detailing how I will help him scale to high six figures. And then 6 months later, it actually happened. So it's a full circle moment. And I have the exact same thing in my Miro, and I'm saving it on my laptop because I cannot throw that Miro board because that's what made me and my client 600K in a single month. And Nick has been is a great friend. He's a lifelong friend, and I want to keep it that way because what a lot of people have is that they have a consulting business, they have a coaching business, but all of their clients are just numbers in their screen. They don't have real relationships. And apparently, the clients that I've had 3 years ago is still talking to me right now, talking about how he's moving out of his house in Nevada, how he's still receiving the portrait that I did for him. And especially in this current state, all you have is the real people. All you have is an access to people that will help you grow and not tolerate every single mistake that you have. You cannot just keep on focusing on revenue. At the end of the day, I invested for myself, invested for the people. I invest in Nick when he has like 7K followers. And then now he's like 170K followers and making the revenue that he has right now. It's just so amazing to see the growth of people when you just give them the right answers to the biggest bottleneck in their business. One question now is what separates the people that are actually e-coaches to the bad moods, because you will know when people don't know what they're talking about.
So yeah, and then I just also wanted to add, what are your takes on these people who are, leaving these bad comments about your current niche, your client results, and overall the business?
At the end of the day, if you're running a business, you will have flaws in your fulfillment, in your marketing, or even in your sales. So take everything with a grain of salt and make sure that the execution and implementation is still in your responsibility. Because at the end of the day, no one is going to help you with the micromanaged task that you have to yourself. You cannot let me do the things that you've been doing for the past 2 years. I cannot do that. I can never do that. I can only show you the right direction. I can only show you the right steps in order for you to implement so that you can actually have the high likely possibility to go on the next revenue mod that you want to achieve. And it's so funny because like people are talking bad about my past clients, and you will see on those people that are talking shit, they're running the exact same thing. And guess who they copied it from? Right? Guess who they copied it from? And I said it to Nick, and I said, bro, there's a lot of people like talking nonsense about things that we did. And what he said to me was, yeah, bro, they have their own businesses as well. They're on their own consulting space. They're on their own consultancy, and they're doing good. Imagine that, like he's literally complimenting the people talking bad matter, because he knows that they're only doing that to make sure that the clients that we already have will go to them. And I just felt like he was so genuine and so in peace with his heart, because what competitor is gonna pray for his competitors? And he's just like, yeah, they can bark all they can say super stop, but at the end of the day, you've helped hundreds of clients scale to 6 figures with just the help that we provide for every single one of them. And in that moment, I just said, down, I helped the right person.